Hey there, survivors, how's it going? I'm your host Douglas here at Drownboy Productions, bringing you another Halloween collector's video. And it's finally that wonderful time of year where everyone is out searching for Halloween scores high and low, whether it be at Spirit Halloween, a local thrift store, yard sales, anywhere that you can think to look, there's cool Halloween stuff to be found every single year. And it would seem that every year, people tend to get lucky finding masks that are worth hundreds, if not possibly thousands of dollars. Not everyone is that lucky. God knows that I have barely ever found anything really cool Halloween related at my local thrift stores, but I have certainly seen absolutely incredible scores over the years, and even this year included, I've seen so many people finding original White Shroud Gen 1 Ghostface masks. You Halloween fans probably don't care about that, but that's a pretty big deal for only a couple of bucks. But today, history has been made with what I'm going to go ahead and call the best Halloween thrift store find of all time. Now, for you hardcore Halloween fans, mask collectors, prop collectors, and stuff like that are already a part of these different online Facebook groups and forums, you've probably already heard about this and seen it, but it's still absolutely mind-blowing. So for those of you who haven't, let me go ahead and tell you a little story. The setting for this story is California, which honestly I think is probably the only place that you could get quite this lucky at a thrift store, and he truly did strike gold. So a local Halloween fan, Joseph Ferguson, was participating in his local community-wide yard sale event that he normally does, and thought to himself, I'm going to go ahead and go check out this local thrift store. He goes in and starts looking over the various different Halloween costumes, all sorts of just random stuff that you guys are typically going to see at your thrift stores, whenever he happens upon a rack of really nice looking police officer jackets. And he thinks to himself, just at a glance, these look like they would be pretty close to the ones that were seen in the Blumhouse Halloween films. And then upon closer inspection, he noticed the patches on the sides, and was very confused, and looks over to see pairs of work-right charcoal gray coveralls. And immediately, he's like, I found something here. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be something to this. And upon closer inspection, he notices that some of these still have costume tags with the original production name for Halloween 2018. So at this point, Joseph is pretty sure that he has just had one of the craziest thrift store finds of all time, and he would be right, but he still didn't quite know exactly what he had happened upon. So he went ahead and purchased, I think at first, just a pair of coveralls and one of the jackets, and went to a local place to go get something to eat. He posted in the Halloween groups, the movie prop forums, and stuff like this, trying to see if anyone happened to have any more information about these as to what they could be, how they ended up at this thrift store, and, of course, people had answers for him. The main answer, of course, being go back and buy everything else, because these are definitely at least production pieces, if not possibly screen used. And so he ends up reaching out to the costume department as well as Christopher Nelson to see if they can give any more insight as to what these pieces are. And guys, you would not believe it, but he struck absolute gold. I know I've already said this, and that's what this entire video is built upon, is how insane the score is, but it is still truly unbelievable how lucky someone could get to walk into a thrift store and find a pair of screen-used Halloween 2018 Michael Myers coveralls, alongside several other pairs of coveralls and police officer jackets that were used in the films as well. That's just absolutely mind-blowing. It's almost impossible to wrap my mind around. And of course, after having this confirmation, he went back and purchased everything else. And I believe not long after that ended up doing deals with several different people to let them acquire all of these pieces, I believe except for the pair that were confirmed to be somewhat screen used. So let's go ahead and dive into that pair in particular. So out of the few pair of coveralls that were found, all of them were original, stock, unaltered charcoal gray work rights except for one. And that one pair in particular were a bit confusing, because it did have stab wounds, it had blood on it, of course you're weathering all the dirt and grime and grease on the coveralls, and then it also seemed to have some burn char marks, like we see in Halloween Kills, and then on one of the legs, quite a bit of mold and mildew, like we see in Halloween Ends. And the costume tag did give us a bit more insight, and of course the costume designer gave us the rest of the story. And now that I think of it, I think Christopher Nelson also did help confirm some of the actual damage on these coveralls matching to what specifically they were used for. Many of you have heard over the years that Halloween 2018 originally had an alternate ending where Michael ends up being shot with a crossbow. This pair of coveralls is from that alternate ending. So these were technically filmed, they were worn by James Jude Courtney, they were used in the movie, but they were never really seen in the full finished version of the film. So they are kind of screen used, but they kind of aren't at the same time. I would still kind of consider these to be screen used. They were worn, they were used in the production, they were a bit different than the other pairs of coveralls. Because with these other pairs, even though they're unaltered entirely, these are still coveralls that were purchased for and were on set of these Halloween films, thus giving them production lineage. I know to many of you that probably doesn't matter, but in the world of prop collecting, that is still pretty darn significant. Oh, and as for the burn marks and the mold, those were tests that were done for Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, just seeing how these effects would look on the coveralls. And now many of you would say, weren't a majority or weren't all of the original coveralls pretty much reused for Kills and Ends? And I do believe that that is the case. However, these in particular would not have been used because it would not have matched continuity. With the damage that Michael received at that version of the ending versus what we ended up getting, it just wouldn't have matched, so it kind of makes sense for these to be used as a test pair. Regardless of whether they ended up being in the final cut of the film or not, these are still absolutely insane to find at a thrift store. This is truly crazy, guys. But at the same time, I do find it believable because in my own experience with my MTV Scream costume, whenever I reached out to production and whenever I got that costume, they were in the process of clearing out all their storage and they told me that thing would have ended up in a landfill somewhere. So even with that being a killer outfit used in a pretty, well-known franchise, I know it's not Ghostface, but it's still Scream, they had very little regards for that. And you know what happened to pretty much everything else from production? It all ended up at Goodwill. I know that's crazy to think about, but here's another situation where we have production pieces ending up at a local thrift store. It's crazy to think about the fact that that can happen. It's also crazy to think about the fact that there's a high possibility that a non-serious Halloween fan, or even just a non-Halloween fan, just some random mechanic or somebody, could have come across these pieces and decided that it was just a nice piece of wardrobe for cheap that they wanted to use to actually work in. So production Michael Myers coveralls could have just been worn by any random mechanic or somebody who was trying to cosplay Michael Myers for a little Halloween party, not even really knowing what they had on their body. And survivors, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but there is a possibility that I will end up obtaining one of these pairs of coveralls that came from production. If so, of course, you guys will see a video on that in the future. I truly hope that the deal works out, but if it doesn't, it'll be all right. This is still just absolutely insane to be a part of. I appreciate Joseph letting me do a video on this and telling me more information, sharing with me all these pictures and stuff. Dude, congratulations on a truly once-in-a-lifetime score. I'm sure there are so many people that are incredibly jealous of you right now, myself included, but at the same time, I'm incredibly happy for you, so congratulations. And I want this to serve as a positive message to all of you out there who look at me as a collector or look at other people who have screen-used movie props or crazy, collections in general of vintage masks, and you think that, I have to be made of money, it just comes down to being rich, and it really isn't that type of situation. Like with me personally, I'm not made of money, I'm not made of cake either, but you guys keep leaving comments about it, and it's getting to be a bit weird. But it's truly a situation where you never really know what you're going to find or how much it's going to cost you. So keep your head up, keep going out there and searching because you never know what you're going to find or when you're going to find it. I'm sure Joseph did not expect to hit the lottery coming across all these production Halloween props for $13 a piece at a thrift store, but you never really know. I have found my holy grail in mask collecting for only $5. You just truly never know what you're going to find out there, guys. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't happen to you. It took me years and years and years of searching to find anything at all, much less anything significant. So I hope this could be a source of positivity for you guys who are feeling down about not finding anything while thrifting, or, just in general, the idea of I'll never own anything screen used or production used unless I'm a millionaire. You truly never know what you're going to find when you're thrifting. It could be tricks, it could be treats, but you're never going to know unless you go and you check for yourself. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I love you all. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. It helps the channel a ton. I really do appreciate it. I'll have more awesome horror content coming to you all very soon. I love you all, and I'll see you next time.